What's up, enthusiasts? The Battlefield 1 open beta has been running recently, so let's jump in and discuss. Right off the bat, I have to say this. I have been wanting a major FPS title to go back to older weapon systems for quite a while now, instead of continuing to try and push each iteration to a more modern setting. So when Battlefield 1 was announced, I was thrilled. I feel like the weapons and aesthetic are more interesting for large-scale gameplay. The guns feel a little more unique in my opinion, and this gives the game character. It also gives the opportunity for interesting additions like cavalry, which you certainly wouldn't be seeing in a modern setting. So I like the aesthetic, I think that's easy enough to see. Also, the way it impacts the gameplay. But keeping in line with sensory aspects, let's talk about the sound design, because wow does it add another layer of depth to the game. The sounds are deep and full, giving a really rich sound to the environment. And I want to take a moment to talk about the most impactful sound in the game to me, the bayonet charge scream. The first time I hit that button and heard that blood-curdling scream while sprinting forward, I just sat back like, whoa. I immediately put myself in the mindset of someone actually having to charge into the enemy line under fire. The sound just has this raw energy to it that's full of desperation and fear that I think is an incredibly immersive addition to the game. Okay, sound effect talk out of the way, how does the game feel? For the most part, it feels pretty smooth and responsive. I really like the sliding mechanics while running. It adds something nice while not feeling like it's going to result in everyone just sliding around the map at every chance they get. I am thoroughly pleased that the tick rate has been increased to 60 for this title, or at least it is the projected goal. That is a huge step and I'm sure will be appreciated by the player base. As I mentioned earlier, it feels like the guns have more character in this game, and I found myself favoring the medic for their access to the Rigotti rifle, which I fell in love with. Admittedly, partially for the sound effect when firing and reloading, but I found it fit my playstyle well on top of sounding cool. While everything may not be perfectly fitting of the World War I time frame, I do like the additions for the sake of gameplay, as we aren't playing simply for historical accuracy, but for a fun and balanced game with an interesting setting. While the movement and gunplay do feel pretty good for the most part, there are some issues I have with the game. Most of them actually stem from the spawning process though. The game has a system in place where if your squad mate is under fire, you can't spawn on them, which I like, both from the standpoint that by putting down suppressing fire or tagging someone, I can prevent them from being a spawn point on an objective. It also prevents me from spawning in and dying immediately. However, the latter still happens, a fair amount actually. I'll spawn in and just be blown up by a tank, or someone was behind my squad mate and shoots me on their way to cleaning them up as well. Now, I don't have any ideas to fix this issue, but it is a frustrating aspect worth noting. On top of this, there are times I spawn on a squad mate, and as I'm traveling from the map to actually spawning in-game, the squad mate dies and I end up spawning at a different spawn point, rather than being sent back to the map to choose again, which can be super annoying. Those are my major gripes, but I do have another small gripe. It's kind of built into the type of FPS Battlefield is though, and that is that if you aren't running with a squad or a squad that's not cooperating, you can find yourself continually being in the wrong place at the wrong time, which just isn't fun in a game that's based on large-scale gameplay and cooperation. There were some small glitches and bugs as well here and there that I don't feel are relevant, as the game is in an unfinished state and should be cleaned up by launch. If they still persist after launch, then I'll mention them because they are issues worth noting that need to be fixed. All of that said, the core mechanics of this game seem to be in place and done well, which I suppose shouldn't be too surprising since the core elements are still Battlefield gameplay elements, but I'm sure it will be a welcome return to armies fighting a war rather than a cops and robbers style of game that so many people had issues with in Hardline. If you like the Battlefield style of games, I think you'll enjoy this iteration. However, I'm not sure it's worth the cost of the base game and then the season pass, putting it at around $110 total, which is not cheap by any means for a one-time cost on a game. Granted, this is less than a year of World of Warcraft subscription fees. If you aren't going to be putting a lot of time into this game and just want to play casually, I have a hard time getting behind that price point. Those are just my thoughts on the game after putting some time in with the open beta version, but I'm just one opinion. I want to hear yours, so let me know in the comments. I always look forward to reading your thoughts on these videos. If you're new to the channel and enjoyed the video, feel free to hit that subscribe button for more in the future, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jangular, and I'll see you next time.